The moving truck, a behemoth sighing diesel fumes, juddered to a halt before the house on Primrose Lane. Its arrival was an ungainly punctuation mark at the end of a grueling journey, yet it heralded a hopeful new chapter for the Sullivan family. Michael, or Mike, as he insisted, unfolded himself from the passenger seat, his limbs stiff, a groan escaping as he stretched. He surveyed their new domain, Serene Meadows. The name itself was a balm, promising a quietude that was the antithesis of the city's relentless clangor, a sanctuary for his daughter Lily. Jessica, his wife, emerged from the driver's side of their SUV, her eyes shadowed with fatigue, nonetheless held a spark of determined optimism as she scanned the picturesque, almost unnervingly perfect street. Lawns, emerald carpets of uniform height, merged seamlessly into flower beds bursting with artfully coordinated blooms. Mature maple trees, their leaves whispering in a gentle breeze, formed a verdant canopy over pristine sidewalks. It was a postcard from the American dream, or so it seemed. "Are we there yet? Daddy, is this our new house?" Lily's voice, bright and clear, floated from the back of the SUV. Mike's face softened into a grin as he opened her door. "This is it, sweet pea. Welcome to Primrose Lane. Bye." He carefully unbuckled his 10-year-old daughter and gently lifted her into her brightly colored wheelchair. Lily, born with spina bifida, navigated her world on wheels, with a spirit that humbled him daily. Her smile, wide and utterly infectious, was the gravitational center of his universe. "It's pretty," Lily declared, her gaze fixed on the 2-story house, with its welcoming blue door and a wide, inviting porch. "Can I pick my room first?" "Absolutely," Jessica said, her hand ruffling Lily's auburn hair. "Biggest room for the bravest girl we know." As Mike began the familiar ballet of coordinating with movers, Jessica guided Lily up the temporary wooden ramp they'd brought, a sturdy, functional piece they'd deployed countless times. It bridged the 3 short steps to the porch. Their plans for a permanent, aesthetically pleasing ramp were already in motion, though contingent on navigating the labyrinthine approval process of the Homeowners Association, a document thicker than a city phone book that had arrived with their closing papers. The initial days blurred into a whirlwind of unpacking furniture assembly and the small, sweet discoveries of a new home. Lily claimed a sprawling oak in the backyard, as her fortress its branches perfect for weaving tales of airborne unicorns and valiant knights. Mike, when not wrestling with boxes in the garage or setting up his small home office, felt an unfamiliar peace settling over him. It was a stark welcome contrast to the high-octane tension of his life as a bomb squad captain for the city's police department. Here he hoped the loudest concussions would be the joyful shouts of children playing, not the controlled detonations he orchestrated. Jessica, meanwhile, began to tentatively weave herself into the neighborhood fabric, encountering friendly faces offered baked goods and unsolicited advice. Mrs. Gable from across the street, a woman whose kindly eyes and warm smile seemed genuine, had been particularly welcoming, though her initial warnings were more pointed than Jessica first registered. "It's a lovely neighborhood, dear," Mrs. Gable had confided one afternoon, pressing a still warm apple pie into Jessica's hands. "Most folks are real friendly. Well, Eleanor Vance over on Snapdragon Court. She's formidable." Jessica had offered a polite, questioning smile. "Formidable how?" Mrs. Gable had hesitated, her gaze flicking around as if checking for eavesdroppers, then leaned in. "Head of the HOA Welcome Committee, and truth be told the de facto ruler of Serene Meadows. Rules are gospel to Eleanor every jot and tittle. She values conformity." She'd then recounted in a lowered voice how Eleanor had spearheaded a campaign a few years prior against a family whose son had Tourette's syndrome, citing disruptive vocalizations and negative impacts on community serenity. The family eventually moved. And then there were the Hendersons before Martha passed. Eleanor had a fit about their non-native garden plants, made them rip out half their yard. A month or so before the Sullivans even arrived, Mrs. Gable had also seen Eleanor unloading several oddly shaped, heavy-looking boxes from her car late one evening. They were plain brown, but had small diamond-shaped labels with pictograms. Some definitely looked like flame symbols. Others were less clear, perhaps electrical warnings. Thought it was new garden statuary, or maybe components for that elaborate holiday display she strong-armed the HOA into funding. Mrs. Gable had mused. She was awfully furtive about it, though, covered them with a tarp in the garage right quick, said it was sensitive committee materials. Jessica had filed it away as another eccentricity. The Sullivans' first direct engagement with Eleanor Vance, who insisted on the formal Mrs. Vance from those she considered her juniors in the community's unspoken hierarchy, occurred less than a week into their tenure. Lily, armed with a bucket of jumbo chalk, was transforming their driveway into a vibrant, sprawling mural of psychedelic unicorns and gravity-defying rainbows. Jessica watched from the porch, a cup of cooling tea in hand, enjoying the late afternoon sun. A shadow sharp and sudden as a guillotine's fall fell across the chalk-dusted concrete. Eleanor Vance stood there, a woman of indeterminate middle age, her posture so ramrod straight it seemed painful, her graying hair sculpted into a severe helmet-like coif. Her eyes, the color of slate chips, were assessing missing nothing and held no discernible warmth. She wore a crisp linen suit, incongruous in the summer warmth, and clutched a clipboard to her chest like a breastplate. "Good afternoon." Eleanor stated her voice, devoid of inflection, a pronouncement rather than a greeting. "I am Eleanor Vance, head of the Serene Meadows Welcoming and Standards Committee." Jessica descended the porch steps, extending a hand. "Jessica Sullivan, it's a pleasure to meet you. This is my daughter Lily." Eleanor's gaze flickered, till Lily lingered for a beat on the brightly colored wheelchair, then shifted to the riot of color on the driveway. Her lips thinned almost imperceptibly. She pointedly ignored Jessica's outstretched hand. "While we encourage artistic expression in Serene Meadows, Mrs. Sullivan," she began, her tone arctic, "all such expressions on common or publicly visible areas must be firstly temporary, and secondly aesthetically harmonious with the community's established visual standards. Driveways, I must remind you, are considered publicly visible. Certain accoutrements." She added, her gaze flicking back to Lily's chair for a nanosecond, "can also impact the overall visual landscape." Jessica blinked, blindsided by the officious barrage and the subtle chilling barb. "Oh, it's just chalk, Mrs. Vance. It'll wash away with the first rain." "Rain, Mrs. Sullivan, is not a guaranteed or timely cleaning agent," Eleanor retorted, her eyes narrowing. The bylaws Section 7, subsection C, paragraph 2, stipulate that property frontages must be maintained in a pristine condition. These scribblings could be interpreted as detracting from that. I trust it will be removed by nightfall." Lily, who had been listening with growing unease, looked up, her lower lip trembling. "But I was just having fun." Eleanor Vance did not soften. Her gaze on Lily was unsettlingly intense, analytical. "Fun, child, has its place and its regulations. Adherence to community standards ensures that Serene Meadows remains a desirable and valuable place to live for everyone who conforms to them." Her attention then swiveled to the temporary ramp. "And that structure, it is, I presume, a temporary fixture?" "Yes," Jessica said, a prickle of defensiveness rising. "We're planning to install a permanent one. We have the HOA guidelines and will be submitting a proposal shortly. Proposals must be submitted at least 60 days prior to the commencement of any structural alteration," Eleanor recited, tapping her clipboard with a manicured nail. "And the materials must be from the approved list. Wood of that particular, untreated quality is not generally favored. It can appear rather..." makeshift. And of course, any deviation from standard entryways requires extensive review to ensure it doesn't negatively impact curb appeal or set undesirable precedents. It's perfectly safe and allows my daughter to access her own home, Jessica replied, her voice tightening. Eleanor Vance gave a curt, dismissive nod. Safety and accessibility are of course factors, Mrs. Sullivan. However, they must be integrated harmoniously with the overarching need for aesthetic uniformity and adherence to protocol. I will leave a copy of the relevant bylaws pertaining to exterior modifications and property upkeep in your mailbox. I trust you will familiarize yourselves with them promptly. Without another word, she pivoted and marched away, her posture as unyielding as her pronouncements. Jessica exhaled slowly, then knelt beside Lily, who was gazing forlornly at her vibrant creation. Don't you worry about her, sweetie. Your unicorns are magnificent. But a chill had settled over the sunny afternoon, and she made a mental note to hose down the driveway before dusk. Moskam, Gable's warnings suddenly felt less like neighborhood gossip and more like a prescient weather forecast. Mike listened to Jessica recount the incident that evening, his brow furrowed in a deep V. Aesthetically harmonious scribblings and a crack about her chair. I deal with people who build actual bombs, and they sometimes have more reasonable explanations for their actions. She made Lily feel awful, Jessica said, her voice laced with a frustration rapidly morphing into anger. And the way she looked at the ramp, like it was a personal affront. We'll get the permanent one sorted, Mike assured her, though a knot of unease tightened in his own gut. We'll follow their damn rule book to the letter. We came for peace and quiet, remember? But peace and quiet, it seemed, were low on Eleanor Vance's agenda. The ensuing weeks brought a steady drizzle of pronouncements. A meticulously worded note about lawn grass, height a 1/4-inch variance noted. A verbal warning about a wind chime Jessica had hung, its tones apparently discordant and exceeding acceptable decibel levels. Then a lengthy email CC'd to the HOA board detailing the unsuitability of their welcome mat. The slogan, "Wipe your paws," is inappropriately whimsical. Each interaction was a pinprick, yet their cumulative effect was an insidious tension. Mike trained in de-escalation, attempted polite engagement. Mrs. Vance. He'd said one afternoon, finding her measuring a neighbor's rose bushes with a laser measure. We're trying to be good neighbors. We want Serene Meadows to be great for our family. Eleanor looked up, her eyes like polished stones. Good intentions are commendable, Mr. Sullivan. Demonstrable compliance maintains standards. Your wife, for instance, has yet to submit the formal application for the altered watering schedule for her perennials, as per Addendum 6, subsection B. Mike restrained a sigh. Right, the perennial watering schedule. He paused. My daughter Lily really enjoys the neighborhood, especially the park. Eleanor's gaze flickered towards his house. A strange, fleeting expression crossed her face. Children are part of any community, Mr. Sullivan. It is incumbent upon parents to ensure they integrate seamlessly and do not cause undue disruption to the established order or aesthetic harmony. The veiled implication was chillingly clear. Undue disruption. Lily's wheelchair, her very presence. The thought sent a cold spike of fury through Mike. A few weeks later, on an early morning jog, Mike passed Eleanor's house. Her garage door was ajar. He saw her hunched over a workbench, not tidying, but focused intently on what looked like complex electrical schematics. Beside them were cylindrical objects, spools of wire, and small, unidentifiable electronic components. He'd quipped to Jessica, "Looks like Mrs. Vance is building a superweapon to enforce the Petunia color code." A red herring, perhaps. She was known for her over-the-top HOA projects. But the image coupled with Mrs. Gable's story of the flame-labeled boxes lodged an unsettling splinter in his mind. Mr. Henderson, the widower who'd lost his wife Martha and whose garden Eleanor had criticized, shared more with Mike one day. Eleanor, she wasn't always like this. After her son, Arthur, died, a terrible chaotic accident on a school trip, a bus crash, she changed. He was her only one. Then her husband, George, just faded. The HOA, the rules, it became her shield, her way of trying to control a world that had spun so cruelly out of her control. She can't abide anything she sees as imperfect or disorderly. It's like it mocks her loss. This added a layer of tragic understanding, but also a more profound chill to Eleanor's focus on Lily. The permanent ramp became the crucible. Mike and Jessica submitted a meticulous proposal. Weeks bled into months with no response, only vague references from the HOA office to Mrs. Vance conducting further due diligence regarding material compatibility and long-term visual impact. The temporary wooden ramp remained a stark symbol of obstruction. One afternoon, Jessica called Mike, her voice taut. "Mike, it's Eleanor. She's outside with the surveyor's tape, claiming the ramp encroaches on the sidewalk by 3/4 of an inch." Jessica's voice trembled. Lily's watching scared. Eleanor was muttering about permanent eyesores and exploiting loopholes. This was a new aggression. "Okay, Jess, stay calm," Mike said. "Don't engage, I'm leaving now." When Mike arrived, Eleanor was making notations. "Mr. Sullivan," she began, "this structure is in significant violation, 7/8 of an inch." Mike crouched sighted along the edge. "Mrs. Vance," his voice dangerously quiet. "This ramp is for my disabled daughter. Temporary because you have been stonewalling the permanent one for 3 months. Eleanor bristled. "The Architectural Review Committee has a rigorous process. A delay doesn't grant carte blanche for violations." "Are you threatening to fine us for less than an inch while you obstruct the solution?" Mike's voice dropped. "The bylaws are unequivocal." Eleanor stated, a flicker of unease in her eyes. "Penalties will accrue." "This isn't about compliance, Mrs. Vance," Mike said, stepping closer. "This is harassment targeting my daughter." Eleanor drew herself up. "I resent that. I uphold standards. My personal feelings don't enter into it. It is principle." "Your principles involve making a 10-year-old feel unwelcome," Mike shot back. "Leave my family alone. Process our application. Cease this harassment." Eleanor's face hardened. "You don't understand Serene Meadows. Threats won't help. I am documenting your hostile tone." She scribbled on her notepad. Mike felt a surge of frustration. "Document whatever you wish. This stops, one way or another." He went inside. "I told her to back off," he told Jessica. "She's obsessed." That night, Mike lay awake. The image of Eleanor's garage, the schematics, the cylinders returned. An ugly thought began to coalesce. The next HOA newsletter, hand-delivered by Eleanor with a frosty smile, featured urgent clarification regarding accessibility structures and public right-of-way encroachments, detailing fines and liens. The target was clear. The Serene Meadows 4th of July block party approached. Lily adored it. Despite tensions, Mike and Jessica were resolute Lily would not miss out. Eleanor naturally was chief organizer. As the date loomed, Mike noticed Eleanor seemed even more agitated. He saw her late in her garage, the door partially closed, odd flashes of light, faint chemical odors. He tried to dismiss it, elaborate decorations. His unit was stretched thin by a hoax device perpetrator. The block party dawned bright. Lily was incandescent. They found a spot under an oak. Mike saw Eleanor bustling, her face a mask of strained efficiency, her eyes periodically flicking towards them. "Keep an eye on Lily, Jess," he murmured. Vance is wound tighter than a drum. Lily went to the craft table. Mike leaned back, closed his eyes. That's when it hit him. A confluence of observations. Mrs. Gable's boxes with flame symbols, his glimpse into Eleanor's garage, diagrams for pyrotechnics or electronics, cylindrical objects, wires. The official fireworks were by a licensed professional. What if Eleanor, in her escalating vendetta, was planning something beyond harassment? The thought was monstrous. But his training screamed alarm. He sat bolt upright. Eleanor was near the refreshment tent, but her attention was lasered on Lily, who was by the play area. Eleanor held a small tote bag, her hand inside, fiddling with something that looked like a modified key fob. Then Eleanor moved not directly towards Lily, but in a meandering path that would bring her close to Lily's wheelchair. She feigned casualness, but her eyes darted towards Lily. Mike was on his feet. "Jess," he called sharply. "Get Lily now away from the chair." Jessica, startled, saw Mike's trajectory, saw Eleanor closing in. Earlier during a lull, Eleanor, as organizer, checking equipment, had approached Lily's unoccupied wheelchair. Shielded by a planter, she'd affixed a device, an illegally procured M250 class firework, enhanced with an accelerant wired to a sophisticated remote receiver with a motion-sensitive anti-tamper circuit and a secondary pressure release trigger, to the underside of the seat. It had taken less than 30 seconds. Now, as she passed by, she made a final check. She cast a venomous glance towards the Sullivans, then began to walk away, feigning nonchalance. "Lily!" Jessica screamed, sprinting. Mike reached Lily fractionally before Jessica. "Don't touch the chair," he barked. He dropped to his knees, scanning. There it was. Tucked into the frame, a compact, professionally wrapped package. Thick firework tubes, wires, a metallic receiver with a blinking LED. A faint, acrid chemical tang. Not just gunpowder and accelerant. And he spotted it, a tiny, almost invisible filament connected to a micro switch, a pressure sensor. Lift Lily, the circuit closes. Try to remove the device, the motion sensor trips. "Jess, get her out. Carefully lift, straight up, don't jostle it." Mike's voice was bomb squad. Captain calm. Jessica Ashen lifted Lily. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Lily cried. "It's okay, baby." Jessica choked. Mike's fingers probed. No timer visible. Remote receiver. Eleanor had the trigger. He scanned wildly. There, Eleanor near the park edge, raising the fob. "Vance, no," Mike roared. Eleanor, startled, fumbled. Her finger spasmed. A blinding flash from the device, not the main charge, but the anti-tamper circuit. A deafening bang, sparks acrid smoke. White-hot pain seared Mike's left hand and forearm as shrapnel tore through. The blast slammed him back. But worse, a new rapid beeping started from the main device. The shock or a secondary circuit had activated a fail-safe countdown timer. 60 seconds already rapidly ticking down. Screams. Panic. People scattered. Mike ignored the pain. The main bundle hadn't detonated, but the timer was active. "Everybody get back," Mike bellowed. "Bomb live device, clear the area." Jessica clutched Lily, watching Mike. He had to assume Eleanor could still somehow override, or that the timer was absolute. His pocket knife was out. No kit, no suit. Just wits, experience, and a father's resolve. He had to bypass the pressure sensor, and the motion sensor, and the new timer. He saw the primary initiator wires. His mind raced, visualizing the complex circuitry. The booby trap had complicated things, potentially arming secondary paths. He carefully sliced a bypass for the pressure plate, then heart-pounding another for the motion sensor. The timer beeped relentlessly, 30 seconds. The main ignition train was now his only focus. He found the wires leading from the timer to the detonator cap embedded in the M250. One wrong snip could shunt power. 20 seconds. His hand was slick with blood. 10 seconds. He took a breath, isolated the correct wire pair, and cut. Silence. The beeping stopped. He worked for another agonizing minute, ensuring every path was inert. Only then did he allow himself to breathe. His left hand was a ruin. He stood swaying. "Where is she?" he yelled. "Eleanor Vance." Mrs. Gable, pale but steady, pointed. "Ran towards her car. I saw her with that remote. I'd already called 911, Mike, when I saw her skulking around Lily's chair earlier, after what you've been through." Mike ran, ignoring Jessica's cry. He spotted Eleanor frantically trying to jam her key into her car. He reached her as she wrenched the door open. He slammed it shut, his bloodied hand smearing crimson. "Eleanor!" His voice was a guttural snarl. She spun, eyes wide, crazed. "Stay away. It was an accident." "Faulty fireworks." "Faulty." Mike grabbed her arm. "You planted an IED under my daughter's wheelchair. I just disarmed it. I saw the remote, the timer you activated." "You're insane, framing me!" she shrieked. Sirens wailed closer. "I'm a bomb squad captain, Eleanor," Mike said, deadly quiet. "I know exactly what I'm talking about. You tried to murder my child. Domestic terrorism." Police cruisers skidded to a halt. Mike held Eleanor until an officer cuffed her. "She's the one," Mike said. "Eleanor Vance. Planted an IED. Device is disarmed. My EOD unit is en route." He sprinted back to Jessica and Lily. Paramedics were there. Lily was crying, terrified but physically unharmed. "My daughter," Mike gasped. "Is she okay?" "Scared, Mike, so scared," Jessica sobbed. "Your hand, oh God." His bomb squad unit arrived. Dave Regan, his second-in-command, saw Mike's hand, then the IED. "Boss, no kit that timer. You cut it damn fine." "Too close, Dave." She put it under Lily's chair. Eleanor, screaming about her rights that she was the victim, was placed in a squad car. The investigation began. The park was a crime scene. Mike, after emergency treatment, gave his statement recounting Eleanor's harassment, the suspicious items, the horrifying discovery. Charges against Eleanor were swift attempted murder, aggravated assault possession, and use of an explosive device, domestic terrorism. Eleanor's house yielded more illegal fireworks, wiring tools printouts on IED construction. And her journals. Recent entries were venomous diatribes against the Sullivans' Lily, a blight to be excised. Older entries revealed her profound, unhealed grief, the chaotic, accidental death of her son Arthur years ago, her husband's subsequent withdrawal. Her grief had curdled into a monstrous need for control, a pathological obsession with order. Lily, in her innocence and difference, became the focal point of Eleanor's displaced agony. The news sent shockwaves. An HOA Karen, a terrorist, Mike, underwent surgery. He would have scars, physical and emotional. Lily was traumatized, plagued by nightmares. Jessica, too, was shaken. They began intensive therapy. Serene Meadows, shocked, rallied around the Sullivans. Apologies flowed. The HOA board was disgraced. A new board with Mr. Henderson and a humbled, determined Mrs. Gable was formed, dedicated to actual community well-being. Lily's permanent ramp was approved and installed within a week by a contractor who donated labor and materials, a defiant symbol. The community started a Lily's Garden Fund for the park, a place of beauty and inclusivity. Several homes subtly changed their landscaping, embracing imperfection in quiet rebellion. Eleanor Vance's trial was a media sensation. Her lawyer argued diminished capacity, a psychotic break, but the prosecution laid out premeditation, illegal materials, IED research, her journals. Mike's calm, powerful testimony, Jessica's tearful account, Mrs. Gable's observations sealed it. During cross-examination, confronted with her journal entry calling Lily an aberration, Eleanor finally snapped. She screamed, face contorted. Her ugliness, her neediness, A constant reminder of everything that's wrong, uncontrolled. She didn't belong. She had to be removed so order could be restored. Her outburst revealed the chilling depths of her derangement. Eleanor was found guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge was scathing. You, Eleanor Vance, were a cancer masquerading as a guardian. Your narcissism and hatred escalated into monstrous violence targeting a child. You are a danger to society. Life in prison, no parole. Her assets were seized for restitution. The Sullivans did not stay. The memories were too raw. They sold their house on Primrose Lane. The new owners, a young family, immediately painted the front door, a vibrant, joyful yellow, sparking a small trend of de-Eleanorizing. The Sullivans found a new home far away, no HOA, where Lily could draw on the driveway, wind chimes could tinkle freely. Mike returned to his work, his scars a testament. He carried a new understanding of the line between order and oppression. Lily slowly healed. The nightmares faded. She still loved the 4th of July, watched from a safe distance, her father's scarred hand in hers. Her father was a hero. Eleanor Vance became a cautionary tale, how unchecked obsession and grief can fester into evil. Her name, once a local nuisance, now synonymous with a sinister Karen. Her reign of terror, born of a broken mind, ended by justice, by the courage of ordinary people, and a father who diffused more than just bombs, helping a community reclaim its peace, forever changed, but determined to be better.